I found out about the Wasteland series from my brother and heard it was somewhat similar to XCOM and Divinity Original Sin. Considering the setting and the belief I had that it was somewhat a similar combination of two game series I love, I recently finished a cooperative playthrough and I wanted to make a video on what I thought about the series so far as a newcomer to it. Keep in mind I've only completed and played Wasteland 3, so I just wanted to give an opinion as a newcomer for veterans and new players alike. Since I've recently finished the game, I wanted to talk about it. In the route, we did a co-op campaign with two of us, doing a completionist route, doing as many side quests as we could find and doing as much as we could before going to the final fights of each area. To sum it up, I'm very happy with the game. There are some minor issues to the control scheme and some major issues to how the game runs on PC. Those can be fixed quite easily by restarting the game. However, the game did introduce me to some amazing twists onto the CRPG genre, not to mention the fantastic dialogue, music, setting and gameplay systems. This video is meant for those who are interested in Wasteland, due to the co-op nature, because only the third game is actually cooperative online, but also for those who may be a veteran to the series and just want to see a first-timer's opinion. To give a brief introduction to the plot or context of the game, which you'll learn very early in the opening cutscene, you are the Arizona Rangers, a peacekeeping group of sorts from Arizona following the nuclear apocalypse. You move to Colorado in a desperate search of aid for the state of Arizona. Your characters, who belong to the Rangers, are one of the many going to meet with the Patriarch who promise aid in return of assistance for his own familial issues. The opening prologue of the game, however, sees you ambushed on your way and starts the tutorial. From what I've gathered in 3, it takes place shortly after 2, in which Angela Death, a significant character in 2, had led a scouting party into Colorado but shortly vanished after making contact. 3 follows what remains of the Rangers who were sent to go help the Colorado Patriarch in exchange for aid for the state of Arizona. That's what I'm going to say in terms of what the story holds, and of course being an RPG it really branches off depending on your own decisions and your notoriety and actions within the game world. What's more important is the combat and the setting in which will be the focal point for this video. The combat, as alluded to prior, is a familiar mashup of games like Divinity and XCOM. You lead a party, so you're a player with 2 controllable teammates in co-op for a total of 6 members. If you're playing solo, I believe it's 1 player and 5 party members. This utilizes systems that XCOM players may know, such as the cover system, AP for movement, actions, abilities, attacks, all which are spent using AP and can be excelled in using certain gear, level up or crafting. Outside of combat, speech and skill checks exist to determine whether or not you can perform certain tasks like intimidating, persuading, hacking, doing explosive related work, doing first aid and much more. Many of these skills can be used in interesting ways in and out of combat. One thing I've really liked about this game is the scale of your party. In co-op you can have 6 total in your party, so 1 player has 1 player character and 2 NPCs. As a result, it can feel more like an XCOM firefight than an RPG battle due to the amount of enemies and the size of combat. Also, since party members take a less independent role, it means you can build skills across multiple characters and use them to benefit your entire party. For example, only 1 character needs to level the persuasion trait and anyone in the party can use that persuasion. By this I mean you don't need to worry about missing out on certain skills. As I've just said, you don't have to worry about building every skill on every character. For example, my main character specializes in combat, uses melee combat and animal whispering, but also specializes in mechanical skills and nerd stuff, which originally I leveled because I wanted to use it out of combat, but then I learned there's a big role in combat for these 2 mechanical and nerd stuff skills. Nerd stuff uses computer and technology, which is why I combined it with mechanical skills. Alongside my main stat allocations, which was speed and strength to cover ground and do damage, I also chose, as I've said, nerd stuff and mechanicals. This allows me to summon robots, repair generators, buildings, machines and doors, and this gave me an advantage or straight up stopped fights generally. This meant I was a very team based player, but also had a lot of strength and HP. I wanted to mention the animal whispering perk. It allows you to take charge of an animal as a companion, which also grants bonuses for yourself. For most of the game I had a stag which basically gave me melee damage, but also was a very tanky companion who had a lot of AP to deal damage with. So all of this together grants me big team support capabilities, a lot of HP, a lot of armor and a lot of speed. Alongside this I have the Berserk quirk, which basically when a teammate dies it gives you a massive AP and crit hit bonus, meaning I had a very glass cannon build if I wasn't wearing armor. But luckily, the strength I leveled meant I could wear armor and use all this crit and AP bonus. Out of combat, my character is best suited to dealing with mechanical interactions and hacking. So robots and such are very dangerous companions to have with you, and so hacking them gives you a massive advantage. To contrast, my 2 AI party members, who are Marshall Quan and Ice, were filling in for my weaknesses. So Quan had the kiss-ass persuasion skill leveled, meaning he did a lot of the talking in our party, and also first aid and assault rifles, which he used to great effect, keeping us healed up and allowing us to stay alive in big fights. Ice used a sniper and specialized in weaponsmithing and weird science, and weird science is basically using all the weird fictional technology that doesn't exist IRL, at least not in wide use. And this allowed us to all act as one, and then obviously my co-partner had him and his 2 other teammates with him, which meant we had a very rounded out party, which meant we did damage in a lot of situations, but we also had a lot of support waiting because we decided to level in these different ways. I wanted to highlight this party idea because it means you're not really locked out of doing certain things. So it meant we had a lot of persuasion, we had a lot of mechanics, we had toaster repair, we had all this crap which all added to the final hive mind of the party, and it didn't mean we had to go back through the game to see different choices quite often. Although obviously for the big story choices and the big side quest choices we couldn't do both, but it did mean we didn't really miss out on a lot of skill checks because we had a party member who could do everything in a sense. It was a lot of fun discussing and specialising each of our characters before entering a fight or before entering a quest, and then having to think on the spot how to use their arsenal in certain environments, certain fights, and against certain people. Each weapon type feels very different to use because of their special ability. Shotguns can destroy cover but require a lot of close gameplay to actually make useful. Snipers can be very hit or miss, quite literally, but ours can do massive, almost one-hit kills sometimes. Quick slots grant you versatility, allowing items to be used, and depending on your skills, can change how these items generate and function. So for example, certain robot summons can be used if you have the correct mechanics, meaning you can carry, like I did, you can carry around saw blade robots, or you can carry around disco bots, which were my favourite. Or if you don't want to use those, you can use grenades, you can carry self-healing around, or team healing, all add to how you can change your team depending on what items you equip to each person. For a brief look of out of combat skill checks, lower level checks generally provide lore or description of something. For example, First Aid 3, which usually is used for healing people, could show you what an NPC's injury is or what an injury in a side quest is. Whereas First Aid, skill check 5 or higher, might give you an option to healing someone or talking to someone to the point where they believe you on your medical advice, and then standing down from a fight, for example. This is interesting because that allows you to avoid combat with the strangest skills, the kind you wouldn't actually expect to stop combat. That you could stop people from dying with First Aid, or set up an advantage for combat, like hacking robots, or sabotaging certain doors. All of this may help you later on, which I really enjoyed looking for. This game definitely shines in the combat, but just because it's a bit less interactive like games like Divinity, doesn't mean these smaller, more minor parts are weak or boring. This leads me to my final point. The characters and setting in this game are very interesting, the world building superb, and the craziness of the Wasteland is shown clearly through the many faction perspectives you see. I really enjoy the fame infamy system, giving you a chance to instate yourself and send ripples over the entire game world by being seen as famous heroes or villains depending on what you do within the story. This may help you stop fights because people are scared of you, or they maybe respect you so much that they stop fighting. It allows you to shop cheaper, grants you additional items from some people, or detriment you, for example getting attacked on sight. Generally so far though, the world feels very much alive and responsive to your actions on the world. The fame system goes a long way into affecting how NPCs and nameless civilians react to you. I love seeing the payoff in what I did 2-3 hours ago, and actually pay off because I decided to not kill someone, or I decided to give someone some money. One little thing I would like to mention as well are there was 3 particular factions I've really enjoyed in this game, and they were the Payasos, the Gippers, and the Dorseys. All of them were very defined in their goals, in how they approached combat, and how they looked, and how they approached life in the Wasteland, and what they showed reverence to. All of them had some kind of very strange ideal, which all planned to make a very defined world. In the micro sense, of course, because it was just set in one state. They all presented different challenges when fighting them, some of them being more reckless or dangerous depending on your party composition and readiness against them. This made the game very interesting and also made for some over-the-top contexts for fights and conversations, which showed me how Wasteland 3 embraces a similar comedic side to the nuclear fallout, much like Fallout does, alongside other factors like toaster repair and weird items you can find, craft and wear, all really adds to this comedic sense of the game. The music in this game is very interesting. There are vocal tracks and non-vocal tracks which are used in very certain situations which really make the game stand out and make these particular events feel really impactful. However, I do have some complaints of how the music is used, which I will mention in one moment. My main gripes, as I've alluded to earlier, is the artificial friction which can exist in certain contexts, as well as the technical sides of things. For example, early on I felt like I had to go back to the doctors a lot to get rid of injuries or just to heal up, which made an annoying trek back. It wouldn't be an issue if there was some kind of fast travel, but I still wouldn't want a fast travel system because I think it ruins the game being able to jump between each area of the game. But still, I realised right at the early parts of the game going back to the doctor was kind of boring, and we did it a lot of the times because we were playing on Ranger. This could have been, however, because I was taking on areas which are too high level, or I was playing too recklessly or not using items enough. But I felt like even that, we were using items quite a lot, but I felt like we were just getting damaged quite a lot, and we had to return after 2 or 3 fights quite a lot. In either case, having to go back to base, which sometimes requires you to drive a bit over the wasteland, got a bit tedious even with the towing feature. Additionally, I felt snipers were very bad early on, and it may have just been a build issue on my side, but I felt like it was quite difficult to move your sniper around. Obviously, I know you're supposed to set up your sniper and just leave them there, but even so, having only 1 bullet until you got a lot of AP from your skills, and then just for them to miss the bullet, it feels kind of difficult to use them. But when they do get hits and they do get these big crits, they can sometimes just clear up people immediately, clear up bosses, clear up massive amounts of HP. But yeah, I felt like some of these builds early on were quite difficult to use. Ultimately, or in conclusion, I had a fantastic time with Wasteland 3 from start to finish, and I extremely respect what Wasteland 3 brought to my understanding of the character RPG sphere. I think it's a brilliant game which has a lot for new players to enjoy, and from what I could tell from the returning characters and events being mentioned, returning players from Wasteland 1 and 2 can easily appreciate it as well. I think it's only been improved with the co-op experience, and I would love to have seen Wasteland 2 or 1, or at least 2, maybe not 1, try out as well. Whilst the ending was a bit dull, disregarding story developments, but more about the actual gameplay of the ending, and there was also some annoyances in how certain characters could start off, like I mentioned with snipers. Despite all this, I really appreciated the crafting the character's world, the story and the fights and routes you could put your characters on, or you could embark on through the story. It gave massive freedom to take a focused team and enjoy using it in combat. What is more important to mention, it's combat oriented. There's a lot of traditional RPG features and scenarios which you can embark on. Whilst the music is fantastic, I felt like there's a lot of missed opportunities for vocal tracks to be used. For example, I expected the last fight to have vocal tracks in it because, you know, before that a lot of the bosses had vocal music, a lot of classic songs by, I think Greg Jong his name is. But yeah, I feel like having such a bad final fight kind of hurt the game quite a bit, and I wish there was really awesome music, and it was a lot harder because the particular ending I had, the combat right at the end of the game, was quite easy. Whilst we did do a lot of the side quests, I felt like it shouldn't have been that easy, and it didn't really feel epic because it was lacking that fantastic music the game often had for certain events within it. So yeah, Wasteland 3 is definitely a must try if you're looking for a good 2-player experience, and if you like XCOM, if you like RPGs like Divinity, then that's definitely something you should look at and at least try out, because it is on Game Pass as well. But I bought it because I wanted to see the DLC as well, which I haven't tried out yet, but soon. That's all from me.